Coady Willis, High on Fire, Melvins, Big Business, and Emergency Devils, episode 132. And with me now is none other than the hardest working heavy drummer in the business, Mr. Coady Willis. Coady, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Conan, how you doing?
Thanks for being a part of the 10-year anniversary show. It's a pretty big deal that you made the time for this. I know how busy you are. So
10 years. It's crazy.
10 years of this show. Can you believe it?
No.
It's a lot. It's a lot of years.
Bananas. That used to be a long time.
Yeah, right. Now it feels like last week.
Yeah.
I think that's how long you've been on tour.
Sometimes it feels like that. Yeah.
Can you tell me the story of you filling in last minute for the Melvins show that for the celebration of Bullhead, which, as I mentioned when I talked to you privately, I feel like that's like Dale's signature record. That's like the record that people realize what a world-class talent he was. A lot of people that weren't paying attention, And
yeah, that's a big one for sure.
It's huge because it's not even just playing. At least you already had done those songs when the album was Bullhead and Houdini was that right?
We were doing 4 records at the time. We were doing 2 nights in each city, so it was Eggnog and Bullhead and Houdini and Stoner Witch.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you at least had known the songs, but it had been quite some time. So could you just and you probably told this story plenty at this point, but it's so astounding. First of all, you already were like just getting back from playing. Right?
Well, yeah, I was up in Portland doing a one-off show with High on Fire, and Buzz called and they found out that Dale had to have this surgery, and Boris from Japan had already flown into the country, 7-week tour. And Dale couldn't do it. So, it was just kind of like a Hail Mary on Buzz's part. Buzz and I hadn't spoken in a little while. We'd just both been doing other things. And so it was kind of like out of the sky, blue sky.
Right.
I got a call from him and he was like, "Can you do this?" The tour starts in, 4 days. So yeah, it was just like, I had not played those songs or even really thought about those songs in probably about 12 years. So it was like, oh my God. All right. So I kind of like listened through everything. I was still in Portland, and then I had to fly back to, I was going to fly right back to LA and then drive right to rehearsal. We only had 3 days to practice before the tour started. So on the way back, there was a hurricane in LA on that day, which I found out a day before. So I was like, I'm trying to change my flight to earlier so I could miss it. And they're like, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's not good. So yeah, I connected in Oakland and they were like, oh yeah, your flight's totally canceled. No flights in or out for the rest. Like, oh my God. So I had to I was flying into Burbank. I had to, my flight was canceled. So I had to book a new flight to LAX for that day. I had to run downstairs and grab all my luggage out of this. They just kind of piled all the bags on the tarmac. There was just a giant pile of luggage that I had to root through and find my bag, run back upstairs, jump on this other flight to LA where Steven, the bass player from the Melvins, picked me up at LAX, drove me across town to the Burbank airport where my car was parked, got my car, and then we drove from there to practice. And we had 3 9 or 10 hour practices right before the tour started. And the first show was in LA, and it was this place, the Belasco Theater. And so it's everybody I know in LA is there, and I think it holds 1,600 people or something like that. So big show, LA, first show, 3 practices. And I'm just kind of sweating bullets, oh my God, this is crazy. And I was in the dressing room right before the show, and the first person I see is Kevin Rootmanis, old bass player of the Melvins. And he walks in, he's wearing this Hawaiian shirt with a white tank top and a sailor's hat. He looks like Robin Williams or something. He walks into the room and he just sees me, and I hadn't seen him in over 10 years, 12 years. So I was like, hey, and he looks at me and he just goes, "You must be so nervous." I was like, Hi.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, good
He's
to see
like,
you
man,
too.
he's like, I would be shitting bricks if I was you. Oh my God. Like, just on and on and on. I was like, all right, all right. So he kind of like took the wind out of it. Like he kind of, I was like, all right. And it ended up being fine, and the show was good, and you know, muscle memory is pretty powerful. So like I, you know, could remember most of those songs, and we got the set together, and it was actually a great tour. Like it went by really fast.
Yeah.
Everybody on the road. We were also with this band, Mr. Flies.
Yep.
And Boris. So it's like everybody had been on tour before. Everybody knew what to do, and it was just smooth sailing the whole time. So it was great.
Yeah, the show I got to see in Milwaukee was fantastic, and ironically, you're the only person I got to talk to about it, which is which is great. Your hair was looking very luxurious that night.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
But it was. I mean, look, like it was the anniversary of Bullhead, and again, it's a little bit of, not that you can't handle it, but like it was a little bit of pressure, right? Like it's especially on such short notice. Like, you know,
Yeah, but it was
0 to
also kind of
60.
like, it was like either I do this or the tour doesn't happen.
Right. Who else could it be?
So nobody. So it wasn't like you know. It was unfortunate. I think it was widely known what was going on with Dale. So
Yeah.
everybody who already had a ticket, everybody who was coming to the shows knew what the situation was, and knew that this was the best case scenario for what was happening.
Right.
So I felt like everybody was behind it, and everybody was really supportive. I didn't feel like I was like under the gun to like give the best performance of my entire life or anything like that. Or you know, it was like everybody knew that this was very last minute, and we were able to make the tour happen, thankfully, for all the bands who came over, and you know, we're counting on this thing to happen. So all that was good, and everybody who knew what the situation was behind. I only got encouragement. I didn't get anybody telling me that I, you know, well, he's not Dale. I was like, yeah. And there's certain people who wrote about the show. It was like, oh man, Dale played great. You know, they didn't even notice that it wasn't Dale. So,
well, yeah, and it's not like,
I take that as a compliment,
right? Yeah, I mean, look,
yes.
yeah. Well, I think you're on the same that like people were like, you know, understood the situation, and yeah, it certainly beat the alternative. And I think it's crazy too that like look, not to put a fine point on it, but there was like 2 shows, right, that you had to I mean, one of them was Rat City Recon, I know that one well, that you had to fly to go previous big business engagements too.
Yeah, there were two big business shows already booked during the Melvins tour that I already said yes to. So I had to fly back from I think one was Chicago, and I flew back to Portland, and then the other one was somewhere in the Midwest, and I had to fly back to Seattle to play the Rat City Recon show.
Yeah, which I remember.
So that was twice. I it was doable, but I wouldn't recommend it. Like it wasn't. It was a little bit crazy, like switching gears and flying right back into tour again.
Right. We're doing this now,
and then everybody else just had to sit around. I think Boris. I think they played 2 shows without the Melvins.
Yeah.
While I did those shows. So, but you know, I was like apologizing to Buzz. I'm like, I'm really sorry about this. He's like, are you kidding? He's like, I mean, this tour wouldn't have happened. He's like, do as many shows as you want. Like, whatever. We'll hang out and watch movies, you know, for a day. So, it all worked out. I can't believe it all worked out, but it did. And everything all's well that ends well, you know.
It's such an insane story, but it's definitely one for the record books. You know, put it up on the mantle. It's like, all right, this is the craziest rock and roll experience I've ever had.
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things that's like it wouldn't have worked with anybody else, because I would not have been able to do it had I not played next to Dale and played all the songs a bunch of times. You know, it's like sitting next to him and like learning the stuff and knowing where he's going to land, and some of that stuff is really. It's not really on the grid as far as like timing, and like if you were going to write it out in like a notation or something, there's a lot of like feel, hanging pauses, and riffs that kind of like, you know, it's like a snake eating its own tail. They kind of like aren't the same twice, and it's a little bit different every time. So it's a lot of that kind of feel stuff would have been very hard to teach somebody on such short notice. So it was just lucky that I was able to do it schedule wise, and B, that I had the previous training, I guess, I could still pull off those songs and still have it in the ballpark for feel and stuff like that, you know. Not the same as Dale playing it, of course, but you know, like having done it all for 8 years or so, I did remember all those songs, and the muscle memory came back. So it was all right.
Yeah, and like knowing like within the spaces that are just as musical as the notes themselves, right? Like all those important things that make
For sure.
the nuance that
Yeah.
make the music.
Yeah.
So real quick, High on Fire, new stuff, right? There's new High on Fire.
Just yeah, our new album Cometh the Storm just came out on April 19th. It's out now, and it's my first recording with those guys.
Big deal.
So yeah, check it out. And we're about to, I'm actually on my way to practice right now. We're learning a few songs off that record for this tour coming up in a couple days. And there's a couple new old songs too that I'm learning that I have not played live yet. So I'm in the woodshed right now learning those. So I'm on my way to hit the books, I guess, and learn some of these new songs that are new to me anyway.
Right. Fantastic. Last time you were on was episode 132. That was 5 years ago, dude. And
wow,
it's 388 now. I would love it if you ever have the time for it to come on for a longer episode to talk about more of this stuff, because
we'll figure out a time at some point for sure.
We'll figure it out. It'll happen eventually.
Yes.
Coady, thank you so much for being part of this, the momentous 10-year anniversary for Protonic Reversal. And
congratulations, Conan. I will talk to you very soon. I'm sure I'll be running into you before too long.
Thank you so much, dude. What do you think? 10 years? Is it too much, not enough, or just right?
10 years is great. Anything like you keep anything up for 10 years, you're doing something right.
Love you, man. Thanks so much for being part of the show. Appreciate you.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.